My name's Dave DeBow, founder of MoneyPartnerFormula.com, and this show is built for everyday real estate investors who are actively doing deals and looking to scale using other people's money. So if you're an active real estate investor and you want to get featured on this show to talk about your own real estate and capital raising experiences, then just go to daveinterviewsyou.com. Now let's get rolling with this episode, and remember to subscribe for daily interview content.
All right, guys, welcome to Property Profits Podcast. I'm your host, Bryce Kaminsky, filling in for Dave DeBow. And, have you ever wondered how an investor navigated the stormy seas of the 2008 real estate crash and emerged even stronger? Today, my guest, Dani Beit-Or, a seasoned real estate pro with over 2 decades of experience. He's here to share his insights. Get ready to uncover the secrets of resilience and successful property investment. Dani, welcome to the show. Thrilled to have you here.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Happy New Year.
Yes, to you too. Now, where are you zooming in from?
I'm zooming in from Orange County, California.
Perfect. I wanted to hear that one more time because we were talking before the show. You got a bit of an accent there, but the first thing that everyone always wants to know, I'm sure they ask you all the time, is like, I wasn't personally invested in 2008, but tell me what that was like. How many years before 2008 were you in the market, and what was it like navigating that?
Well, I always ask myself, am I a survivor of the 2008 crash or a graduate of the 2008 crash?
Both.
I'm leaning towards the graduate, but there is a survival aspect to it as well, for sure. I started investing in 2002 and kind of was ramping up, buying properties towards 2007-8. I achieved my 5 years plan maybe in 2.5. So by the time of the crash, I had multiple properties in multiple states, US states. I lived in California at the time, like today, different part. But I was already quite exposed to the real estate, both by properties that I owned, and my income was also real estate driven. So it was like a double whammy. Actually, my wife's income was also through real estate. So we had a triple whammy going into this. So I was not a beginner per se, like fresh off the first or second property. And I've already worked with other investors, helping them do similar to what I've been doing. But I definitely wouldn't call myself a pro at the time. And the reason I use the term graduate is because the crash of 2008 made it kind of, talk about businesses have to go through a stress test. Oh my God, what a stress test on, test in terms of so many financial stress case, emotional or all that aspect, and not to mention squeezing all the juice out of the system. So that was really, like on so many levels, literally stressing me. And I just had to, in order to cope, I had to deal with it. I had to dive in and say, how do I navigate so many aspects of ownership and investing, that it just made me dive into so many deep and dark, not dark in the sense of, deep and far, I should have said, areas of real estate for my own sake. But everything I do with real estate, I know that I will immediately multiply it and towards my clients, and will share it with them. So that was unpleasant. I think there was one thing that I don't know why that happened, but it also seems like something that it's a repetitive pattern with my journey in life. Is I tend to realize there's a big problem around early on and not later on. So instead of, the reason it's important is because the sooner you realize there's a problem and acknowledge, sometimes you have to admit it to yourself, first of all. The sooner you realize, you open up yourself for seeking answers, seeking solutions, maybe even open up yourself to outside assistance. And I think that's where my kind of lucky charm in the dark side of things is to realize, all right, this is a bad spot. but I've seen others realizing they're in the tough spot a year later. And by that time, more money lost, more situation stress, given. So that was kind of my lucky star, is to
Where do you think
realize,
that,
understand. Yeah. And
where do you think that comes from? That gut feeling? What told you things were like, how
yeah,
did you catch on before the next guy did?
yeah, you know, all through my life, I had a tendency, not, I think it's maybe not, it's realizing and adapting to that situation. And I think it has to do with no ego. So it's like, nothing's like, who, me, or am I failing, or something like that. It's more like, okay, this
It
is the
just is.
reality.
Yeah.
Just face reality and accept it. Don't necessarily fight it or ego fight it. And then what do you do next? And why that is something that in my character or my personality, I don't really know, but I can tell you that if I look through maybe 7 to 10 situations in life, not necessarily horrible situations, but just situations that were a little bit different, that was something that came, like looking back now, or looking back after multiple years of being on the planet, I'm like, okay, I don't know why this feature exists, but I think I'm glad that it does, because I don't drag myself through the mud for a very long time. I'm more like, okay, toughen up, man. This is it. So deal with it. And that kind of mentality helps the mind change and completely tackle the situation, not from a position of weakness in the sense of, oh, I'm overwhelmed, and what I'm going to do is more positions are, I'm in trouble, there is a situation, what do I do to get myself out of it, right? Who do I need to turn to? Who do I need to ask? What do I need to do? And that mind switch is really important, because in the journey of business, life, we're all going to have those times of personal, situation. Doesn't have to be necessarily just with real estate or just with business. And sometimes life, business life and personal life, live together. That something happened here, impact the other side, and vice versa. So it's going to happen. It's not if. Question is, how do we deal with that? Like I've seen people who, the way around me, the way they dealt with, for example, that crash, is kind of stuck their head in the sand and waiting for the storm to pass. And some didn't emerge at all. I haven't seen them since the crash, and some emerged like nothing happened. And I'm sure at least that's what they pretend, or what the appearance of it they do.
Yeah, it's
They're still doing okay.
the old saying goes, manage conflict or conflict will manage you. So do something about it, or it's coming
Exactly.
either way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what do you like most about what you're doing in real estate these days?
So, these days, it's the first time in many, many years I'm fundamentally changing. I'm in the process of changing many aspects of the business, especially when it comes to property management and property management services, or how we use it, because I've been doing it for 20 years, and I've always used the traditional method of property management. And the traditional method, on one hand, because we do in such large volume, we have a good buying power, we have good skills, experienced skills in vetting property managers. So we are very good with weeding the bad ones out. Not always, but almost always. I really have one horror story for 20 years of doing this, of really bad property management. But even the good ones, they're people, good intentions, not always the ideal outcome. Things fall through the cracks for the manager. They approve an expense they shouldn't have. Stuff like that noise always there. And I've been exhausted by that noise of friction in the process for many years, not always knowing what to do. Now, what I've seen emerging in the past, maybe, I want to say 3 to 4 years, is a new methodology or concept of, instead of using traditional property managers, using the technology to self-manage, either self-manage without technology, and more technological solutions are helping owners to self-manage. So there's kind of, all of a sudden, there's a new scale. right? That scale is on one hand is traditional property management with everything that comes with it. It's
Yeah.
not all
Yeah.
bad, right? But on the
No.
other side of the scale is self-manage.
Yeah.
Well, I just realized maybe 6 months ago, there's a somewhere middle ground, and that's called self-manage with guidance and support. And that doesn't exist per se as a category of its own. And that's where we are trying to now come in and say, you know what? On that scale, we have the traditional, we have problems with it. We understand that once you go to self-manage, you lose a lot of the advice and professional and, you know, and maybe a lot of burden on yourself. And that's where we want to be right now. Like self-managed, so more shifting towards the owner calling the shots, but not throw them all the way and say, hey, deal with it, but be there and provide support in guidance, in additional tools, in additional
Yeah.
services that self-manage, you know, doesn't cover. And that's where, and based on that scale and kind of middle ground is what we are transitioning into. So more shifting towards self-manage, but having the support that doesn't come with, you know, once you leave the traditional. And that's the big change I'm working on in the past mainly 2 months to kind of set it up properly. I'm already interviewing a lot of providers to make sure we have that framework all set up
Mm-hmm.
as good
Because
as possible.
how many properties are you planning to manage now?
We have under our umbrella of clientele, we have close to 1,000 doors. We're getting there.
Mm-hmm.
My guess is within, you know, people do not change property management services that much unless it's super painful. It's a little bit like
Exactly.
banking, a little bit like insurance, or the devil that I know. So I believe it will take probably a good 2 to 3 years to transition about half of them that are, you know, into that model. Not all of them would want to go there, right? I have clients that like, I'm okay, I like to be here and I don't want to move from traditional. So I think
Yeah,
that
they
we will
want
be
someone to
with
do it for them, you know? But some people,
exactly, yeah,
I think there's a fine line because nobody cares more about a property than the person who ultimately is responsible for the mortgage. Property management can be as good as possible, but when it really comes down to it, it's not typically their house. There's no intrinsic emotionally, even there's like really no emotion. You're not like, oh, that house over on 56th and 49th or whatever. Oh, I love that house. No, there's none of that, especially at 1,000 doors.
for
So
sure.
I like what you're saying, like the self-manage with help, you know, the help that they need and the ownership that they already have in the property. I can see that being
Sure, yeah.
you know, I could see that being pretty valuable. So with all the things that have come and gone in your real estate career so far, what do you think your secret sauce is? You know, what comes easy to you that other people might find difficult to do?
I think the secret sauce is in two areas. And also it took me a while to really see those areas that for me are trivial and I just don't see it elsewhere as
Mm,
much.
mm,
One sauce is detailed. Detailed,
yeah.
like, you know, the devil is in the detail. Me and the devil are sitting side by side. Like I go
Mm,
into the details and I teach the teams that I work with, you have to dive into the details. I can't compromise on that. And that saves us so many times. So I live in the details. I can, you know, it's not like I don't miss anything. Of
mm-hmm,
course I
mm-hmm,
do, but you know, I can just see how compared to a lot of people that I work with on whatever side of the equation, buyers, sellers, agents, is, you know, I can give you a very short example. Um, one of my property managers, right, an experienced property manager, you know, not new to the business, managed, I don't know,
mm-hmm,
450 doors or more, and there's a problematic applicant. He's not fitting
mm-hmm,
perfectly with what their qualifications, and because of that, we're not moving forward with a house that's already being vacant for 2 months, right? So a
mm,
little bit pressure there. So I called the property manager. I said, listen, can you charge him double the deposit, 2 months? He says,
mm-hmm,
no, in our state, you cannot do that. All right, okay, you can't do that. You can't do that. All right, how about you charge him first month rent, 1 month deposit, last month rent? Oh, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for me, like it drives me nuts. You can't come up with that solution. I mean, you are a sophisticated investor. You've been through, no, why do I have to come? Like, I know that, but why do I have to come in and even ask that question? I don't know, but it's not surprising me. I'm not mad. I'm just not
Mm-hmm.
surprised because it's always happens. So that kind of things I call to be in the details and understanding that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one thing. The second thing is I think I'm very good with trying to ask and understand what is motivating different party, the seller, the
Mm-hmm.
buyer, the agent. So for example, if I'm able to understand what's the seller's pain point, we may be
Mm-hmm.
able to find a way to gap to close the gap of pricing. Many times when I talk to my client about putting an offer, I tell them either I talk to the agent, our agent, my agent, or I
Mm-hmm.
tell them this is what you need to tell the agent, your agent, in order to help them be on the same page and equip them with the information they need to sell the idea of why we're making the offer this way
Mm-hmm.
to the other
Mm-hmm.
party. So understanding the psychology behind not just the seller, the agents, the buyer, the
The whole
seller,
process.
and
Yeah.
exactly, and then also putting it in simple words that if I'm equipping, if I'm giving the information, the good information in a way to my agent, I'm helping him, helping the client, helping the seller to accept the offer, right?
Yeah.
So that's right. Otherwise, they will do their work. There's no doubt, but we need to do it better. We need to do it a little bit more detailed.
So when it comes to your own portfolio, are you a find the deal and then raise the money, or do you prefer to have your capital lined up and then go looking for deals?
It varies. So it really changes on where I am right now. So for example, right now I'm actually a lot of my financial resources are sitting parked aside unfortunately, because it's now something we want to buy my own house again, another one. So
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of putting me aside from buying rental properties for the time being,
Mm-hmm.
just right now, these days, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when I'm when my funds are ready, I, 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 I'm not a dream chaser, right? I see a good deal, what I call a good deal, I go for it. I'm not waiting for the next one around the corner that may or may not show up. And I've
Mm-hmm.
learned that there's a lot of good deals, or you have to learn how to make a good deal, better ones for you, and move on. And I'm really not attached. Make an
Yeah.
offer, accepted, great. Not accepted, move on. That's okay.
Yeah. Why not get
Yeah,
rejected? So
exactly.
how do you primarily fund your portfolio? Is it all self-financed? Or do you have partners? What does that
Down
look like?
payment, for the most part, I'm very simple down payments, my own money,
Mm-hmm.
traditional financing, conventional loans, mortgages. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Perfect. Perfect. So is there, because a lot of times you get down to this position where you start deciding, okay, do I want all these houses or should I just have like one big multifamily? Are you in the business of multifamilies? Are you looking at that? Or are you still primarily in houses? What does that look like for you in the
So
future?
for the most part, single family, but I will go up to four.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, not more than four.
Why is that?
Um, the more well, around 3 to 4 units, or the more door you have, um, there's a couple of challenges.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, a lot of the smaller buildings, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, getting the information out of the owner is like pulling teeth. So you're going to
Yeah.
spend a lot of time. So 9 out of 10, 10, multis, you'll spend a lot of time, just squeezing the information out, enough information that will make you want to put an offer. So you spend
Mm-hmm.
hours and then decide not to put an offer, or hours and maybe put an offer. And this is
Yeah.
before even spending inspection or anything like that. So that's a lot of time where, for example, up to four, you're probably 1 out of 10 will be difficult, but 9 will be easy. Here's the information. Here's the
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
disclosure. If there is a lease, here's the lease, right? So such an easy path, such a challenging path. Anywhere you have a challenging path, there's probably an opportunity, but at the same time, you're going to waste a lot of energy, time, frustration. And who knows, by the time you're just gathering, again, being detailed, gathering information, someone else may either step in and make an offer, or you lost on another one. So it's kind of very challenging to do that. So I like it to keep it simple. Here, the easy path, there's a lot of complexity. So let's just go with the easier path. The second aspect of it is financing. So 4 goes under the conventional residential financing, which is cheaper terms or better terms. When you move to the commercial category of 5 or more, you're just going to need not as good rates, not as good amortization schedule, not as good, down payment. So it's a little bit less attractive for that reason.
Yeah, it's certainly up to 4. You can get some decent financing. So,
yeah,
with people right now, I would say, I'm guessing that the majority of your business is within the property management. That's the company you run side by side. How did you get into that?
The property management?
Yeah. You say you're dealing with 1,000 units or so, right?
So right now we are working with multiple traditional property management companies around the country, and us coming in and buying a lot of properties, we become each one of those companies' biggest account, and we get better terms, better services, and more. So that really works. The buying power works in our favor in that respect. What I told you earlier about transitioning to this self-managed with support, we are in the middle of that process. So that's something that we're probably going to launch around of March. And that will create another option for our existing and new owners, how to manage their houses. The traditional route, we're not going to stop that, or a different avenue with the self-managed, but self-managed with someone looking over, or someone helping you throughout overcoming the challenges.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if people want to find out more, they want to connect with you, what should they do?
So Bryce, as you can probably guess, I have a little bit of a challenging last name. So I created an alter ego for myself, and that's anywhere online. I go under the Simply Do It kind of name. Simply Do It is my company name. So anywhere with Instagram, Facebook, online, you just write Simply Do It, which is a little bit easier to remember. Simply Do It. You'll get to either our website, one of our websites. We have at least we have 2. Facebook, Instagram, not much on Twitter. Even recently launched our TikTok as well.
Nice. Well, I really appreciate you stopping by and letting people know what it's like to have navigated the 2008 correction, and now here we are standing around in what some people call a correction, but I can remember 2008 ain't nothing like what we're dealing with here. So
nothing.
Yeah, I really appreciate.
Stigma.
Well, I think it's just hard times, right? Everyone wants good times to last forever, but you can't have good times without hard times. So, well, I really appreciate you stopping by. And until next time, guys,
Pleasure.
We'll catch you on the next episode.
Hey there, I really hope you enjoyed that episode. And as always, if you want to listen to more daily interview content, make sure you subscribe. And if you're an active real estate investor and you're doing deals and you'd like to get featured on this show, then just head over to daveinterviewyou.com. Now at moneypartnerformula.com, we help real estate investors to create a process for predictably getting capital so they can do more deals without relying on hard money lenders or the banks. We do this by building them a private capital marketing system. Now, if you want help turning yourself into a big money capital attraction machine, then book a call with our team to see how we can help. Just visit moneypartnerformula.com to find out more. All right, take care, and we'll see you on the next interview.